Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about ritual and does ritual matter? And I think maybe the first question is to ask you that. Does ritual matter? And maybe you can reflect or spend a few moments to reflect about times that you use ritual in your life and what you tend to use that around. And last time, just as an example, because maybe ritual sparks certain things in our minds. Last time I brought up smoking. Smoking a cigarette. There tends to be a kind of ritual that goes along with that, and that there's different steps that go through that process. And believe it or not, that is one of the things that makes quitting smoking so difficult. Is that there is comfort around that ritual, and I think that's really, well, I mean, that's the answer to the question, is that ritual does matter. And you'll discover as you explore ritual around the things that you do that ritual does have an effect as to what comes next. So that's really a kind of call to be aware of these rituals and how powerful that they are in what we do. And another example that I thought of as well is if you're going to go to a job interview, if the clothing that you wear matters. And I don't mean matters to, I mean, of course it does cause an impression to be formed from the other person, but forget about the other person for a while and just think about yourself. Like if you were to show up in like surfer attire, and hey, maybe there is a job that showing up in surfer attire for the job interview is appropriate. Maybe surf instructor, for example. But the large majority of job interviews, you probably don't. Wearing that is going to have a negative effect on you as you go in to want to interview for that job because of the way that it makes you feel. So how do I feel when I'm wearing clothes that are appropriate for that, for interviewing for that position? Right? Like it can help to give confidence, even though it's nothing that's related at all to the qualification for the position. So this is as part of examining ritual. And Carmen says, according to my Quit app, it's been 22 days, 16 hours, and 26 minutes since my last cigarette. I miss the ritual, the time spent outside looking at the sky. Well, and why don't I do that anymore? And that's interesting too, right? So is it possible to disconnect some of the positive things that we found with that and bring them in somewhere else? I was actually just talking to a friend the other day about how spiritual the experience of being outdoors is for them, and part of that was related to growing up outside and being in the wilderness. I mean, here in Singapore, not that there's no wilderness, but like as I look out my window, here at 5:15 in the morning, it's buildings and lights. It's and like having and of course, not to divert too far from the main topic, but there are a lot of positive benefits to being outside and to being in nature, and positive psychology, partially because we are animals that belong in the forest and the jungle and all of that. Jean says, I have a ritual at the beginning of each of my therapy sessions. Right after we log on and greet one another, my therapist and I practice with the 3 breaths to recenter, to bring us to the same space and move ahead. So and I guess that's really what I want to get into, is that one, ritual can bring comfort. That's maybe the kind of one of the first things, is that there is a kind of comfort that ritual brings. And the other thing is that ritual can help to create an expectation, and perhaps even and reinforce an intention inside of you. So the ritual, we start to do the ritual, and as we're doing the ritual, even whether it's conscious or unconscious, our bodies even begin to expect this is what's going to happen next. So there are there are positive ways to use ritual, and there are, of course, things about ritual that can be reinforcing negative habits as well. And so that's kind of the challenge that I have for you today, is can you observe the rituals that you go through in your life to see if they're positive or negative? So that's kind of the first challenge. Can you observe non-judgmentally what happens, what rituals are around various things that you do? And number two, is it possible to consciously use ritual to reinforce positive behavior? Okay, and so what brought this topic up for me in the first place was being in Kyoto. So I was in Japan last month, and that was, being in Kyoto was really impactful. It was the city of Zen, and there's just so much about Kyoto that's tied with Zen, and a lot of old traditions and old rituals still permeate that place and give it the same kind of feeling that that maybe it had hundreds of years ago. And that was impactful to me as well. And another interesting thing was my mindfulness practice. I was trying to think, is there a way for me to use ritual around my mindfulness practice, something that maybe not only to remind me to meditate or to keep me more focused in meditation, which ritual can help with that as well, but also to remind me in my daily life to be more mindful. And that's what, actually, I had almost forgotten. I kind of stopped wearing these beads on my right hand because it was, I just kind of forgot to put them on most of the time, or it just seemed inconvenient to keep them somewhere. Like I take them off when I take a shower, this kind of stuff, and have to remember all of this. But what I discovered was that by not wearing them, by not having that part of my attire, it made it more challenging, that this was a constant reminder for me to be mindful in my daily life and help me, amazingly, this small physical thing, which I don't think has any magical powers. What it does have is that reminder, that feeling, that weight, feeling that the touch on my right arm is that reminder to be mindful in my daily life. Dirk asks, is meditation a ritual? It can be, and I think that's kind of my encouragement, is to help to keep you meditating. Can you put some ritual around it? Is there something that works for you that are kind of like little guide rails that guide you into doing your practice, and also that may guide you into staying focused? Because of course, there's a lot of benefit to noticing the mind wandering and bringing the mind back. But one of the things that helps keep meditators meditating is that often there's a pleasant feeling with being focused. When you're focused, sometimes it feels really good, and you feel like you're in the zone, and there's some positive, pleasurable feeling about that. And that's one of the things that helps keep us going. And so, finding out, is there some kind of ritual that I can perform that's going to help to keep me on when I'm on. and also to notice, notice those negative rituals that are associated. Well, in fact, maybe the ritual itself isn't negative, but associated with something negative that you do, or it's like I need to, myself, right? Like when I'm thinking about doing something that I don't want to do, sometimes there's a procrastination ritual that goes on. So it's like, can I be aware of that? And through awareness of that, maybe I go, aha, I'm doing that again. Can I be aware of it? Can I overcome it because I know that it's happening? And go, wait a minute, I recognize this as the barrier that's stopping me from doing this thing that I know I need to do, and deep down I want to do, even though there's maybe something unpleasant about it. Now I'm wondering, what's the difference between rituals and habits? Rituals sometimes go together with habits and can reinforce that habit. And I think, the short answer is to be aware, as they're happening. And then Jean says, I think we've developed a ritual of meditation in the group by meditating together at the same time of day on the days that I'm not here doing live practice. And that's great to hear. And in fact, that's kind of where I'm going with this, is that you can, what did I do? Like my practice, I was having trouble doing my personal meditation practice. So, what did I do is I put I went back to basics, back to when I started meditating. I put a meditation cushion right next to my bed. I set my alarm a half an hour earlier, and I roll out of bed onto my meditation cushion to make sure that I have some time in my day to do my daily practice. And then I get used to it, right? And what helps too is I sit in the same posture. Right, I put my hands in the same mudra. That all of that kind of helps. And before we get into practice, I just want to highlight just a few things about this live event. Right, is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Right? I don't know if I'm not exactly sure the effect it has on you, but saying those words has an effect on me. There's nothing magical about those words, but it gets me into this mindset so that I can go through these steps of this mindfulness practice. Today's topic is, right? That's another ritual. I don't want to give you all of my secret sauce, but I will anyway, right? Today's topic is, and then I talk for a while. Let's get into our meditation practice. Is what I say when we're about to meditate. How'd it go? I don't remember exactly what I say right when the meditation practice is over, because that one's a bit less ritualistic. And finally, let's send our well wishes out to everyone around the world, right? Like these are like little milestones in this practice that I share with you. And it helps me to shift and transition from one part of our time together to the next. And I've found that I didn't intentionally, maybe the beginning one I intentionally created, but the other ones, they just kind of naturally started to bubble up themselves. And I think you'll find that ritual tends to happen that way, especially around negative things that we may not even notice are happening. And then as if you can notice that, you can go, hey, wait a minute, here's the thing that I'm doing. I recognize that I'm getting comfort out of it. Maybe it's possible to have some ritual in some other area of my life that can give me comfort. So, all right, this is a fun topic to talk about, and I obviously could talk about it for longer, and I've talked about it for longer than I should have. So, let's get into our practice. And after I say those words, let's get into our practice, I shift into pretty much the exact same posture every time. And part of it is sitting up straight. Sitting up straight and tall really helps to bring my mind into preparation for being focused on the present moment and for being aware of what's going on. Right? Even if I can't be, even if my situation makes it so that I can't be focused on the present moment, no matter how hard I try, at least I can be aware of my mind's frantic movements all over the place. So dropping into awareness of your posture. Crown of the head towards the ceiling. Chin parallel to the floor. Tuning into the muscles of the face. Can you be aware of what the face feels like? Through awareness of the state of the muscles currently, can you gently let go of tension? Can you allow the face to relax? If the teeth are touching, can you intentionally bring the teeth on the bottom slightly away from the teeth on the top? Keeping the lips closed if that's possible for you to breathe through your nose today. Aware of the shoulders. And so again, even though we're sitting up straight with intention, with dignity, is it possible to be relaxed? So we're not sitting like tense balls of stress. We're not stone statues. We are soft human beings. Can we allow our posture to soften? So maybe you've arranged yourself so that your knees are slightly lower than your hips. Your back can stay straight with that natural curvature in the lumbar spine that you can even sense perhaps by placing a hand in the small of the back to notice how to sit here awake, alive, but effortless, with intention. And beginning to notice that you're breathing. Air moving in and out of the nostrils as you breathe. And maybe as we begin to shift our attention to the breath, let's chase the breath a little bit. Look at each piece of where the body is affected by the breath. So as we begin to breathe in, noticing sensation of air moving at the nostrils. Air inside the sinuses. Maybe as we breathe in, cooling the inside of the nose, the sinuses. Air entering the larynx. And exiting, of course, as you breathe out, feeling the change in temperature. So we continue going down from the larynx, feeling the chest and the rib cage changing shape. Rib cage expanding slightly as we breathe in, making room for air in the lungs. Contracting slightly as we breathe out. Maybe noticing the movement of the chest rising as you breathe in, falling as you breathe out. And then maybe you can feel the diaphragm, the muscle that is responsible for controlling breathing. Movement of the diaphragm on the edge of the conscious and the unconscious mind. Downwards, away from the heart, filling up the lungs with air. Upwards, back towards the heart. The air naturally comes out. The diaphragm itself is kind of like a spring, flexing, pulling air in, and then just a relaxation. We don't have to force the air out. It just kind of comes out. And then noticing the abdomen. As the diaphragm comes down, the organs inside the body are slightly compressed, and as they are, they move outwards, so the belly expands slightly. You can even feel the tension on the skin in the belly. And then as the diaphragm moves back, there's more space, more room for the organs, and the belly moves back. That abdominal wall moves towards the spine. And so maybe there are other places where you can detect the breath. So why don't you explore that now? See, is there any other place? Maybe in my lower back? How about my thighs? How about my toes? How about the crown of my head? Does the breath appear anywhere else in the body? And so let's bring the attention back to where the breath is prominently felt. If you like, you can even shift at various points in the breath. So maybe as we breathe out, feeling the abdomen going in, the chest coming down, air moving through the larynx, through the sinuses, and out the nose. And then air coming into the nostrils, into the sinuses, into the larynx, chest and rib cage expanding, belly expanding outwards. And then the process reverses again. So let's take the next few moments to follow our breath wherever we find it. And now we're going to begin to draw our practice to its natural close. I'll ring the bell 3 times. And after the sound of the bell subsides completely from your awareness, feel free to begin to transition out by maybe moving around, opening your eyes if they were closed, stretching out in any way you like. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for practicing with me. Thanks for being here for each other, to practice together, to meditate together. How'd it go today? What was your practice like? Did you discover anything? And feel free to share about whatever is coming up for you now, or it can be related to ritual, can be related to your practice, can be related to anything at all. Thanks, Carmen. Carmen, I wish you all the best as you keep working at that not going back to old, unuseful, unhelpful habits. I also, if you've had a nicotine addiction, then once you've had it, it's there forever. And I know I've when I lived in China, especially that was my time for smoking, and it's a hard habit to quit. That's for sure. And there's more than ritual. The ritual's part of it, but there's more than ritual to it for sure. So, wish you all the best. Hey, Fernando. Your sessions are a welcome ritual for me. They provide refreshing and energizing break in my days. Thank you. Thank you, Fernando. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Chris says, when you mentioned mouth, my jaw was clenched and I relaxed it. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Angela says, I'm in the middle of my workday, so this was greatly appreciated break and quiet space for me. Thanks, Angela, for sharing that. And I don't have anything else to say. When I pay attention to my breath, I enjoy feeling what the intake of oxygen does to my body. It's funny, I think sometimes I have a resistance to meditate. I don't always want to do my practice, I think I've mentioned it many times. I'd rather just do something like watch TV or something and go, well, hey, is my practice that important? I think I've got good little excuses for myself why I don't want to do it. But then when I do the practice, when I sit, I'm often pleasantly surprised with how pleasant it feels, which isn't always the case. Let me be clear. Sometimes the practice is really hard, but often, I have a yoga practice too. So when it's like, oh, I don't want to do my yoga today. And then I get to the third sun salutation, and then I get to the seventh sun salutation. And then I'm like, oh, right. This is good. This feels good. I'm happy to do this. And then, maybe the interesting thing too about both meditation and the yoga practice is that it feels how it feels when I'm doing it, right? But then when it's over and I'm going into the rest of my day, I'm surprised at how much more prepared I am for challenging things. And I think that's always for me the surprise about the meditation and yoga practice, is that it feels like nothing's happening. Maybe I can feel something physical. I can feel my physical body. I don't notice anything magical going on. But then I get to a difficult situation in my day, and like magic, I handle it better than I would have. And so that's partially one of the reasons that I keep practicing. I don't exactly understand why it works. I've tried reading and doing research about why it works exactly, but I don't really know why. I just know that it does work for me, and that I am more skillful in my interaction. I mean, to me that's the most important thing. My motivation for meditating is that my interaction with other human beings is more skillful, and I'm less likely to cause harm, maybe most importantly to my family. I find that when I'm having a tough time, that it's really easy to make everybody around me have a tough time too. Like for some reason, irrationally, I think that's going to make me feel better, is making things, and I think I don't even do it consciously. It's just that's how it is. Thanks, Jeff Chung, for your donation. I appreciate it very much. I'm less likely to complain. Thanks, Carmen. All right, guys, it's time for me to go. You can see I'm growing my mustache, so I did want to talk a little bit about Movember, so I'll do that next time, and like kind of what mental health in general. I mean, Movember is about men's mental health, but no, I don't want to just talk about men's mental health. So just kind of talk about that and the role of meditation. And then beyond that, 1 week from today, the topic that I'm thinking about posting is the nourishing versus depleting activities. And I think that's an interesting one as well. And I think it's appropriate because it does kind of go along the tail end of ritual. Like, what is a nourishing activity? What's a depleting activity? How do we define those things? So come back. Come back next time. Tuesday and Thursday mornings, Singapore time, which for a lot of you, that would be Monday or Wednesday afternoons or evenings or nights if you're in Europe. So hope to see you again. Join Ryan's daily mindfulness circle and insight timer groups for those meditations on my day off that Jean was talking about. So if you would like to be in a community that meditates together each day, that is the way to do it. And wow, you may be surprised at how your interaction with others begins to change as you start meditating every day. Let's send our well wishes out to everybody around the world, including, of course, ourselves, because that's where it starts, right? I mean, that's what, that's how I'm more skillful with my interaction with others, is by making sure that I've taken care of and worked on the place closest to me, which is me. The circle, it's an insight timer groups here. I'll write it here. So join me sending out your well wishes if you would. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. And may all sentient life, all human beings, good or evil, I wish us all happiness and peace. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And I will say one last thing as I close, is although it may seem like a ritual that I say these same words, especially here at the end of the practice, these well wishes, every time I say them, they come from my heart, and they come with as much truth and conviction and passion as possible. And I'd encourage you not to let your rituals in your meditation become automatic, robotic responses, but engage fully, authentically every single time you do them. Lots of love. See you next time. Bye-bye.